Hey, welcome to the Strong Roots podcast. My name is Kristen Hill, and we are so excited that you're tuning in today. Our prayer is that you would move one step closer to Jesus through this series. So go ahead and check out this next episode. Hey, Strong Roots. I'm really excited to be here with Aubrey, and we are going to be talking about her experience of loss through a season. We are in the middle of the Strong Roots season of loss and grief. And I'm super pumped to talk to you about this because I think you have a perspective that is a lot of people are going through. They are going through the season of transition or loss of a season, maybe not in exactly the context you're going through, but I think you'll have wisdom and clarity in a way that will be really relatable for people who are listening. So thank you for being able to be here and talk with me today. Would you expand on what this looks like in your life?
Yeah, so specifically like the season that Kristen and I are talking about today is the season where right after high school, I made the decision to stay home. And I was the kid that effectively everyone expected to go away to school.
Yes.
Like good student, like great test scores, sports, all the stuff. Like that was going away to school to a big university somewhere was my next step.
Yeah.
And like God presented an opportunity that I chose and decided to step into instead of that.
Yeah.
But in the months that followed, it was hard. It was really hard to watch all these people who I cared about, who I graduated with, go and do this thing that I'd always expected to do. And like, it was more than FOMO. It was more than just being afraid that I was missing what they were doing. It was
right.
In a way a grief. Like it was probably like 3 or 4 months of really intense like periods where I would be really sad about not having this thing, and like I was at one time like planning like how can I get out of what I'm doing now to go to school. Like that was an actual thought I had because like I was just not able to see like the truth or the value in where I was.
Was it expected or was it unexpected when you experienced this loss? Were you like, okay, this is normal, or were you like, whoa, I am blindsided?
No, it was blindsiding. Like especially because I loved what I was doing. Like that's the craziest part. Like I loved where I was at. I loved what I was doing instead of school. And so to feel all of this like frustration and like tension and grief towards this thing that I loved because I wasn't experiencing this other thing was very confusing. Like, but this is where I want to be. This is where I chose to be. Why am I not perfectly content in it?
I have a question. So I know that there are people probably listening who maybe are not even at that next stage. Maybe they're still in high school or deciding whether, I mean, they could be my age and being like, do I want to go back to college or not, right? So how did you know this was where God wanted you to be? Like how, I mean, I think that's a lot of times the tension in the wrestle is because we want to be where God has us planted and wants us to be, like whether for some people that may be in college or maybe staying home or maybe who knows what, right? Like just going straight to work. And how did you know that this is where God wanted you in this season?
Yeah, it's actually really like, it's one of the things that really kept me grounded through the loss I experienced because it was so clear that is where God had directed my steps to.
Yeah.
Long story, pretty short. Yeah. For a lot of my life, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. And then it came down to my senior year, and I was like, oh no, I don't think I actually want to do that anymore. Like, I think that was just like a childhood dream that I never let mature or grow at all. And that caused some confusion for me as well of like, okay, if this isn't what I want to do anymore, if I don't want to go into the medical field anymore, like, what do I want to do next? Like, where am I supposed to go? Like, what does this look like? And so I started exploring some other options and I fell in love with the school. And I was like, okay, that's my next step. I'm going to go to this school, do this thing. And then I didn't get accepted, which like, I was heartbroken. I was crying on a cruise ship at 8 a.m. like with my parents on spring break because I didn't get into the school. Yeah. And I think in hindsight, like had God allowed me to be admitted to that school, like without 2 questions asked or like asking for God's discernment, I would have gone in a heartbeat and done it and like not even asked asked if that's where God wanted me.
Right.
And so I think it's like a gift that God took that away.
Yeah.
So I kind of settled on a plan, like I'm going to go to Purdue, major in this whatever degree, figure out what I want to do while I get my degree. And it felt a lot like I was settling. Like, this isn't really what I want to do. This isn't really what I feel like I'm supposed to do, but it's what everyone expects me to do. So that was my plan. Shortly after that, I was able to actually intern at First.church.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of the summer, I fell in love with what God is doing in this community at this church, and specifically like the area I was able to work in. And at the end of my internship, I was offered to sign on and stay as a communications director. And I chose to do that. Like, that was what I decided to do. And it was just really cool that God opened up the doors he wanted me to walk through. And getting to intern, like, alongside another intern, I think really created a joy and a love for the position I was in. So, like, that was, like, had I not had Annie to work alongside, like, I don't know if I would have loved it as much as I did.
Yes.
So
God kind of just had everything perfectly in place to show you, like, this is the hallway. This is where I want you to be. Oh, that's neat. I love when he works that way. So how has he demonstrated his goodness through this grief, through this season?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that I grieved watching friends from high school go off to college was losing them as friends. I mean, they were 2 hours away, 3 hours away, doing their own thing, making new friends, and I felt like, who do I have anymore? Like, these people who I'd spent 4 years with, who I was so close with, like, what does that even look like for me now? Like, what does friendship, like, look like? And again, like, God affirmed that, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. He's brought me an awesome group of friends, and, like, it was hard work, though. Like, to find friends, to build those relationships. Like, it wasn't just easy peasy. I mean, not that relationships on campus are easy peasy, but we weren't placed in a room together and said, you're going to live with each other for the next 12 weeks. Like, I had to put myself on the line and, like, learn to build relationships and to actually genuinely care for people in that way. So, like, he's good in the way that he offered me opportunities to find friends, but he's also taught me a skill that, like, is absolutely invaluable of building relationship, a meaningful relationship too.
What does that look like? Like, how do you build meaningful relationships?
I mean, the life group that I get to lead is probably and has been one of the most, like, powerful ways that I've experienced relationship. And to kind of expand a life group, in my context, looks like getting together every other week on mission, and also, like, to just grow with each other, and grow wherever we're at in our faith and in our walk with Jesus. So for me, like, that's one way that I've really experienced, like, deep, meaningful relationship. I think the other way that I unexpectedly have grown in my relationships would be with my family. I always thought I was close to my parents and my sisters, and then now I'm, like, 10 times, like, tenfold close with them and have better relationships with each of them individually. And that wouldn't have happened had I been away from them. So I think, like, in that way it's been meaningful, and it's changed, I think, our family dynamic way for the better, because I still live at home. So
yes, absolutely. So has there been any part of this so you talked about the first 3-4 months of the season, but is there anything you're still working through? Is there any grief that you're still wrestling with? Yeah,
I think I find myself questioning the what ifs all the time. Like, what if you made a different decision? What if this hadn't happened? Like, what if you'd gone away to school? What if in those 3 months where you're planning to, like, get out of Dodge somehow, like, what if you succeeded? Like, those questions still sometimes really get to me. And I think too, like, that back to school season is always one that, like, I have to armor up for. Just watching people I know on social media specifically, like, go back to school and, like, post, like, first day of class, like, all this stuff. Like, I have to armor up and be prepared to find the truth and what it is that, like, like God's brought you here. Like, this is where you're meant to be. Like, you didn't let anyone down by making the decision you made. Like,
right.
Those types of things.
Are there any scriptures or verses or promises that you cling to in those moments?
Yeah, I think this one's kind of in a roundabout way. One that I've kind of has become a mantra. Just in anything, anytime my thoughts are going somewhere that like isn't really, I don't know, it's none of these things. So Philippians 4:8, it says, whatever is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. And effectively, like, in the verse before that and the surrounding context of the verse, like, the writer is telling us, like, that's what we should fix our mind on. And so that's kind of been the thing that, like, when my mind is going somewhere that that it shouldn't, that, like, it's going down one of those paths that's going to bring me to a place of fear, uncontentment, or any of those things, like, I remind myself that, like, it's not true. It's not honorable, admirable, lovely. Like, it's none of those things. And it doesn't line up with what God says. And, like, I can choose in this moment to turn the other way and to not go down this path in my mind.
And I'm sure you can probably knock it out with, it's not true.
Yeah. Most of the time I don't have to go through the whole list.
Yes. That's so good, though.
Yeah.
Oh, Aubrey, that was a great answer. So how have you expressed yourself with God through all the emotions that you felt?
Oh, I think I didn't. Like, for a long time, like, in the height of the loss of that season, like, I ran from God because it was one of those things, like, God's given me this good thing. Like, why can't you just be grateful to him for it? Like, why are you, like, mad? Like, in a way, I think I was embarrassed and, like, shameful to come to God with it because it's a different kind of loss because it was replaced with something good.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I felt like the feelings I was feeling were unrequited and really, like, not applicable to the season. And in hindsight, though, like, I think the season would have been much shorter had I addressed it with God and, like, confessed it to God sooner, because, like, God wanted to heal me. He wanted to provide, like, comfort. He understands, like, loss and, like, pain and that sort of thing. And, like, he's the best healer. Like, he's the only one that in that time could fix me and help me and heal me. So in hindsight, like, I've definitely learned, like, if you, like, you know what you have to do. Like, you know you have to go to God in those moments. And, like, thankfully, like, this season has taught me that. But unfortunately, for that time, like, I didn't. It wasn't until people asked me hard questions and really sat down and were like, Aubrey, what are you doing? It's like, I don't know.
Yes. Do you ever find that there's some rebellion, like, not wanting to bring it to God because...
Yeah, I think, like, control, like, just having that little bit of, like, well, can't this just be mine? Like, even if it's a bad thing, like, I feel like I'm much more inclined to hold on to bad things and be like, I want this. And God's like, what?
I know.
Like,
yes.
Like, okay, I don't know why I don't hold on to the good things. I guess that's good, though, too, that I give those to God easier.
Right.
But the bad things are things that I seem to harbor more than other things. But
how do you fight that rebellion?
Oh, man. I think it's one of those things of, like, just building the discipline, because once you know, like, to go to God with it, like, that's always the answer, is to bring it to God and to continually bring it back to God. And I think the hard part is, like, putting aside your pride, putting aside what your control or whatever it is that you're holding on to, and just choosing, like, I don't want to, but I'm going to be obedient. And, like, choosing obedience despite maybe what you feel.
Right. If you could go back in time to be wise without scars, is there something somebody could have told you or led you that you wish would have happened?
I don't know. I think I had so many people in my life who were full of wisdom, who, like, in this time, like, saw the struggle I was going through and, like, who tried to give me the wisdom that like I so desperately needed.
Yeah.
And I think if I could go back in time, like I wish I'd heard them, and I wish I'd listened instead of just heard them. Because I heard the things they were telling me, and I was like, yeah, of course, yeah, like, duh, but none of it actually ever hit my heart, and I wish I'd heeded their warnings, and not their warnings, but their platitudes and what they were sharing.
When did it hit your heart? Or was it just going through it yourself?
I think it was just going through it and like slowly realizing the truth of that what they said was true. And I think a lot of it too, like, really solidified, which is kind of bad, but it all really solidified, and I think I would mark it probably as like the end of the grief journey was the March 2020 COVID shutdown.
Yeah.
All these people who I had gone to school with who were at school, like, they were back in the same boat I was.
Yeah.
And like, I think it just solidified like, wow, like God really orchestrated all of this into what it was going to be. But I guess like I have questions for you.
Yeah.
How can I manage expectations, or how would you suggest someone manage their expectations when they find themselves in a different season than the one they were expecting?
How can they manage their expectations? That's such a great question. I think it initially starts with surrendering your expectations and replacing them with what God wants, because I feel like there's so many things that I want. Like I think our whole lives we like to think that we know what's best for us. And I think in anything, whether it's having kids or marriage or friendships, whatever is going on, losing someone you love, I think really truly trusting that is not a surprise to God, and that He will use all things for the good of those who love Him. And I think that's been a promise. I probably say that to myself daily. Like, even if it's not personally, I feel like I'm in a position where I hear a lot of stories in grief and things, and there's not a day that goes by that someone isn't either texting me something or sharing something, and it's almost like my rock, my verse that I go to, like, okay, I don't understand this, whether personally or in someone else's life, but I really truly believe that He will use this for good because they love Him. And I'm going to trust that, and almost the pressure's off. It's pressure's off me, pressure's off, like, for a person or for myself, like, He's going to do His thing. Yeah. And, like, I may not see it even. Like, I'm going to trust either in light of eternity, or maybe He'll show me in His grace on earth, but He's got this, and I trust His plans for me. So
that's awesome. Okay, another one, rapid fire.
Okay.
Instead of wondering about the what ifs, right? I kind of explained that, like, that's something that I struggle with. What godly beliefs have you ever clung to, or would you suggest that, like, someone who's struggling with the what ifs cling to?
I think it's so important to take them actually captive. And so I will write down my what ifs, like, what if blah, 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 what if blah, blah, blah. And I literally will either find verses or just off of God's word write the truth. Like, because what ifs, like, do we believe that God is omnipresent? Do we believe that He's in control of it all? I think ultimately, I think there's two categories. There's the what ifs, like, what if I didn't sin? Like, there's the things that I have done, like, yes, like, I screwed up. Like, I really wish I would have done differently. But even when I sin, when we follow God's plan to ask for forgiveness, to reconcile, to own our part, He will make beauty from ashes. Like, I feel like a lot of the beautiful things He's done in my life are from the wreckage of bad choices that I've made. And so the choices that I've made that have been good, or like doing this podcast, or working at First.church, or becoming a mom, I don't know, like, I could obviously think what if, in any of these seasons of life, but I truly try to prayerfully think before I make any big decision, like, is this where God wants me to be? And if it's a yes, then I almost just brush it off. Like, I'm not going to go there, because this is hard, whatever it is. Let's say being a mom, like, this is hard. Sometimes I want to check out. Man, what if? Like, what if I didn't have kids? How much ministry I could, you know what I mean? Like, of course I think about those things in any area. But, like, that is not what God had for me. Like, he did open my womb. We did have these 4 beautiful children, and like, this is what he's called me to do. I'm going to go at it with all my heart, soul, and mind. So I think 1, truly believing he's omnipresent. 2, taking them captive, replacing them. But 3, after you've done that and memorized it, like, don't even give it a second. If you truly know that this is where God wants you, but if you don't, you got to wrestle with that, because sometimes we are in a place where he never called us to be. And I think and discerning, like, I think sometimes people give bad advice, like, oh, girl, like, blah, blah, but like, no, for real, though, did he call you into this? So really, really deciding and discerning if he called you to it in the first place. So, yeah, thank you for those great questions. Yes. And thank you guys so much for joining us in this season. And thank you, Aubrey, for just sharing your heart and all that God has taught you. And I hope that you guys would possibly memorize that verse that she shared. And where did it come from again?
Philippians 4, verse 8.
I thought it was just brilliant. I think if you are ever struggling, whether you should be believing something, thinking something, go through that verse, say, is it true? Is it, what's the next one? Right? No. Honorable. You can keep going.
Right, pure, lovely, and admirable.
Yeah, and just tick it off. And usually, like we said, most of it's just not even true. So you don't pretty much memorize the first one. But I would love for you guys to memorize that verse and take it to heart. And thank you guys so much for joining us. And I cannot wait to see you next time. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on our other social media platforms. We don't want you to miss out on any future content. Thank you so much again, guys. I hope you have a great day. And I want you to know I am personally praying that your roots stay strong.